Hi, everybody. This is Shannon Rollins, and this is Finding Your Glow. Some of you may know me from Glow Ministries, and some of you may know me as your spiritual life coach, or some of you may know me from someplace completely different. Wherever you know me from, I'm just glad that you're joining us, and I think that as we spend this time talking together, that we'll find that we have a lot in common. Um, I don't know about anybody else, but I grew up with a really strong mama. She was larger than life and still is. She's larger than life personality. She's an entertainer. She's been a singer since I was a kid, and just a big talent, and just cast a really big shadow. And my whole life I found myself running away from mediocrity, because if you're like me and you grew up around anybody with a really big personality or a really big gifting or something, then you recognize pretty early on that you have two choices. You can follow the way that they've gone and hopefully achieve the same kind of success that they've achieved, hopefully, or you have to find your own path and you have to figure out what works for you. And for me, my mom, there's no way I could touch her. I'm not a singer. I mean, not a good one. Not a good one, at least. I like to sing, but you don't want to hear me. But I always did have the sense of greatness on the inside of me, and I always wanted to have that greatness in the light. I wanted to express it somehow. I wanted to be not second best. I wanted to be the best. And though it may not have mirrored what she was doing, I still wanted to have that in my life. I didn't want to be mediocre. In fact, mediocrity is something that I have steadfastly run from as long as I can remember. I hate it. I hate it. But before we go too much further, I really want us to get into a working definition of what mediocre is. Mediocre is defined as unremarkable or uninspired, average, just run of the mill. You get the idea. But the working definition that I like for mediocre, that works for me, is settling for the easy, or settling for, something that's not my best, or something that's just, kind of the short way to do things, but that may not necessarily bring me joy or bring me happiness or bring me fulfillment in my life. Usually it's somebody else's ideal of what the best is, and that's never really worked for me. I've always been somebody that had to find that for herself. But some of the examples of areas of our lives that we could find mediocrity trying to encroach into, certainly our romantic relationships, that wrong guy or wrong girl, wrong guy, that your parents love or your friends love. Oh, it's the right relationship for you. Or, the right friendships, oh, you should be her friend because it'll result in this, that, and the other. Or the right business relationships, who we choose to partner with, what major we decide in school, what job we take. Some of us, we have parents who have had big dreams their whole lives and weren't able to accomplish it for their own lives or in their own careers, and they desire it greatly, and so they mold us and they push us into those areas, and we find ourselves living out their dreams, living out their realities, living out what would have been the best according to them. But the thing about living in someone else's best is that it may not be your own. And if it's not your own, what ends up happening is that as you give yourself into it, you get more uninspired, you get more average, you start putting out, more unremarkable results. You start, embodying mediocrity, which is the thing that we're trying our best to get away from, But when you let go of someone else's ideal, when you let go of someone else's the best, then what you do is you step onto this entirely brand new canvas where you begin then to be able to create. And when you create, what you create is unique, what you create is one of a kind, and what you create is extraordinary, because you're extraordinary and you're unique and you're one of a kind. I had this client many years ago. He's a good friend of mine, and he was a longtime client. And he had come up in the fashion world. He was a remarkable designer. Everyone loved him, and he had just amazing designs. He was the toast of the town. He, had great press and going to great parties, and, just really that living that fashion lifestyle. And we would talk every now and then. I'd, ask him how things were going, and he'd tell me how unhappy he was. And then I ask him, I'm like, why are you so unhappy? You're arguably living a life that most people would kill to have. And you know what he told me? He told me that he was unhappy because it wasn't something that he ever wanted to do himself. It was something that his dad always wanted. His dad wanted to live that life. His dad wanted to be the toast of the town and what have you. And because he loved his dad, he went that way and followed that path. And his dad certainly got some of the benefits. He got to go to some of the parties and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, my client, my friend, he was dreadfully unhappy. And, after some coaching and after some real soul searching on his part, he came to the realization that that was not for him. And he had to make a decision whether or not he was going to continue pouring his energy, pouring his lifeblood into something that at best he was, good at in the world, but it brought him no personal joy or fulfillment. Therefore, it made him feel less than. It made him feel like he was living a mediocre existence, despite what outside indicators were showing him. And what he did is he went in another direction altogether. He began designing an entirely different kind of product. And though he was able to utilize the skills and even the contacts that he had from what he was doing before, he created a brand new space for himself where he was creating something that was brand new, that hadn't been done before, hadn't been done the way he was doing it before. And what he found was an incredible amount of enjoyment, an incredible amount of fulfillment. He began to live again and dream again and, really start to put himself out there into new experiences and really begin to enjoy himself. And so, I really want to encourage you today to stop living someone else's ideal. I really want to encourage you to find out what's extraordinary for you. Because when you do that, what you'll be able to do is you'll start to create, you'll start to make things that are unique, you'll start to make things that are one of a kind, just like you. And you'll find yourself living in the extraordinary. I've never ever heard of anybody getting to the end of their life and saying, I wish I'd pushed off my happiness just a little while longer, or I wish I'd lived someone else's dream just a little while longer. No one says that. And I doubt very seriously if either you or I will say that either. You only get one life, and it's your time to be great. It's your time to be extraordinary. So I encourage you to put that stuff down and start stirring up the passions on the inside of yourself. Find out what makes you tick. Find out what brings you joy and life and vitality and fulfillment. And then start doing that. I really hope that you got a lot out of this today. And if you did, I encourage you to share this with somebody else. We're really just all doing this together. We're all in this thing together. I'm Shannon Rollins, and this is Finding Your Glow. I hope you got a lot out of it. I hope you really are taking it to heart, and it really starts to produce something in your life. Get out there, be great. Get out there, be extraordinary. Get out there, find your glow. Until we see each other again, God bless.